Pollination. Pollination is the transfer from the male anther to the female stigma. Thereby, it allows fertilization and reproduction. The pollinators are in charge of 80% of the world's flowering plants. If they don't, they would die because nobody assisted to pollinate. Examples of pollination agents are bees, ants, beetles, butterflies, flies, moths, wasps, and birds, but not all. Wind and water also play a role in the pollination of lots of plants. Technically, all plant seeds need to be pollinated because the male sex cell, the sperm, and the female sex cell, the egg, must be with each other together that has data from both of the parent cells. Another word for this is called fertilization. The honeybee is the most assisted animal to pollinate in the plant. There are two ways that the honeybee gets pollen. They sip the nectar or they gather pollen. They usually sip nectar. Both pollen and nectar is useful for the bee colony because the nectar is deep in the center of the flower.
Germination. Germination is the process of which a plant starts to form the seed. Process. Step 1. Water softens the seed coat. Step 2. The cotyledons soak up water, which causes the seed coat to split. The embryo begins to grow. Step 3. The root starts to emerge from the cotyledon. The root starts to develop little hair-like fingers on it that are called root hairs. The roots grow first because it supplies water and energy to the plant during the process of growing. Step 4. The plant starts to sprout upwards and takes energy from the starch in the cotyledon. The cotyledon supplies energy during the early days of growing. Step 5. Once the plant starts the process of photosynthesis, the cotyledon falls off because it finished its growth.
Flowers are used to reproduce. Flowers, as Pratham said, pollinate to reproduce. The pollen from the anther gets to the stigma of the female flower, which allows it to reproduce. The pollen can be from the same flower or a different flower. Each flower has female and male reproductive parts, like the pistil, stigma, ovary, and ovules. Those are all female parts. The male parts are the stamens, filament, and the anther. One of the parts that has nothing to do with pollination is sepals. Fruit. The fruit grows off the flower. The fruit is kind of like a coat for seed. It keeps it safe. The fruit also releases the seed. The stem. The stem is very important. It is a support for the flower, and it also helps spread the water and nutrients to all parts of the plant. The stem is made out of a hard, bendy substance called cellulose. An interesting fact about the stem is that the plant with bigger, stronger stem like a tree will live longer. Roots. Roots are extremely important. They're kind of like an anchor for the plant. The bigger the plant grows, the more roots it will need so that it won't fall over. Roots also spread and soak up water for the plant, which is later transmitted through the root and to the rest of the plant. Leaves are very important. They help to get food, which is also known as photosynthesis. The leaf spreads out and looks for sun or rain. The sun helps the plant for photosynthesis.
Wind. Plants are everywhere around us. Once a plant puts down its roots, it's anchored for good. Some plants use a wind-borne strategy to disperse seeds. The seeds from a plant travel with the wind. Seeds that fall into good growing areas will root and grow into another plant. Water. Plants that are by the water float to different places. Thus, Tree may even grow out of the water, or they can drift to land and start anew on shore. They often end up in tropical islands. Animals. Animals move seeds in many ways. Some plants use the piggyback strategy. Hooks, barbs, coils, and sticky stuff can stick to their fur. Once attached, the seed will travel with the animal and then fall off in other areas. Some birds might pick up a seed and drop it. Ants also gather seeds for food and store them underground for later. These seeds will also grow if not eaten. Ejection. Some plants use a method for dispersing their own seeds. For example, as bean pods dry on their parent plant, the pods twist and become brittle. Then that's the bean bursts, and the beans are thrown away from the parent. Combination. Some plants disperse seeds in more than one ways. For an example, beach grass. Half of the seeds will be released to be blown by the wind or carried by parent plants. With the successful dispersal of the seed, the new plants thrive, and the life circle continues.